Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next installment of the ShiftChange webinar series. My name is Patrick O'Malley. I am an emergency physician, the creator of the laceration course from EB Medicine, and the founder of the ShiftChange entrepreneurial community. Today, we've got a very special guest. Her name is Elsa Arend. She is an ICF-credentialed coach with specialization in burnout recovery, and she comes from a marketing advertising and corporate background where she experienced several episodes of burnout herself, and that led her to pursue this certification and this training and education so that she can help others navigate this process. Very excited for this talk. This is a topic that many of us struggle with, deal with, face, if not directly ourselves. We know of colleagues who are experiencing this. So I encourage you to share this replay link with anyone who you feel may need it. And I'm going to turn this over now to Elsa. So let's get started. Thanks for being here, Elsa.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick. And hello to the ShiftChange community. For those of you who are here, if you need to go off camera at any point, please don't feel like you need to stay on camera. I want this to feel like free and just do whatever you need to do. So today we're going to be talking about burnout, and I'm going to share my screen with you all. So part of what I'd love to see happen today is I'd love this to be an interactive conversation for those of you that can be here. I'm going to have live polls throughout. So what that's going to require you to do is get your cell phone and you're going to take a picture of the QR code that comes up, and that's how you'll participate if you choose to. And I really do encourage you, Julie, I know you're driving. If you can, that's fantastic. If you can't, no worries. We also have the chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the chat. And we are going to be doing a burnout quiz. And I love doing self-assessments because I feel like it gives us some actionable information very, very quickly. So to start, I love to start with a statistic. And this came from a study that was done in 2022, and it was in corporate America. I imagine if we did this among clinicians in 2022, this number would have been higher. But the statistic is that 43% of leaders reported experiencing burnout. And so this number has always just caught my attention as soon as I first read this, because if you were to look at a room of leaders, this statistic essentially says that if you were to chop half of that room or almost half of that room, those people are experiencing the things that we're about to talk about. So this is a pretty big topic, whether you're in corporate America, whether you're in a clinical setting. This is something that's important. And if for some reason you are not experiencing any of these things, it is very likely that someone on your team, someone you work with, someone even in your personal life is dealing with this, even family members. It is just so pervasive in our communities now, and people aren't talking about it as much as maybe they could. So a little bit about me. My name is Elsa, and yes, like the Disney princess, if any of you guys have seen Frozen, her name is Elsa. And funny, for those of you who've watched the movie, she comes from the land of Arendelle, and my married name is Arend. Isn't that hilarious? And the reason I find this so funny is because I was bullied for my name growing up. I'm half Mexican, and my mother had a very thick accent growing up, and I learned Spanish as my first language. So I'm here like with this name Elsa, like who is this girl with this Mexican family living in this very white neighborhood? And so I have the last laugh, people. I am a Disney princess. Thank you. So, as we see here, I'm a leadership and executive coach. I have a specialty in burnout recovery. When I went through all of my training, it was very, very specific on executives. But one of the themes that I started seeing very, very common among the people that I tracked was burnout. And that's because I went through burnout twice myself. Because before I did all of this, I was a marketing executive. I worked for Fortune 50, Fortune 100 companies, working with CEOs, with chief marketing officers, all these really cool, powerful people. And I just rose the ranks really quickly. By the time I was 34 years old, which is, pretty young age to be sitting at the head of a company, I was an executive vice president. And I had a small child. I had just given birth to my first child. And about 6 months after all of that, I started to experience burnout for the first time very intensely. I took a sabbatical. I thought, okay, I'll do the sabbatical, then I'll feel better. Came back the same crap just started all over again. And it took a while. It was about 6 months. Like I had built up some reservoir, but I never really got to the root. And it wasn't until I hired my first coach in 2016. Her name is Kate Stillman. If anyone wants to look her up, she's still out there, that I finally got to the source of like all the things that I was doing. I think I tend to sit in the victim chair a little bit. And so I was kind of like, woe is me. This is happening to me. I didn't have the shift or the empowerment or the vision to see that I myself was creating and perpetuating the patterns that I found myself in. And for some reason, it wasn't until my hair right here started to fall off, like this part right here, it just started falling off in the shower. I started having, I guess, premature baldness, or I'm not sure what you call that clinically, but it really got my attention. I also developed insomnia. I had like a vocal cord issue, just a whole host of really negative physiological symptoms. And I finally said, okay, I got to do something here. And so I'm going to read you guys a story. Oh, and I love to read stories because I feel like they just access a different part of our brain. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Let's see if I can see it. I'm going to move this over here. Okay, the night the ER didn't feel the same. Dr. Raquel Harrison loved emergency medicine when she started. The adrenaline was intoxicating. Every shift brought unpredictability, and saving a life was the ultimate reward. By her early 30s, she was working as an emergency physician, seeing nearly 30 patients a shift. But over time, the work began to change. Most of the patients weren't the dramatic emergencies she had imagined in training. They were abdominal pains, chest discomfort, high blood pressure. Often she would diagnose the issue quickly, prescribe medication, and send the patient home. Again and again, she saw the same people return to the ER weeks later with the same problem. That's when a quiet question started forming in her mind. What was she actually doing to help people get healthier? The pace never slowed. Another patient was always waiting, another chart to complete, another shift around the corner. At first, she ignored the warning signs. If someone had asked whether she was burned out, she would have said no. But eventually, the symptoms showed up in her body. Chest pain, exhaustion, loud sounds bothered her. There was a sense that something inside of her was running on empty. Looking back, she realized the truth. She had been heading towards burnout long before she admitted it. The work itself wasn't the only problem. It was the feeling that she had become part of a system that treated symptoms quickly but rarely changed the underlying problem. The realization forced her to rethink how she practiced medicine. Instead of rushing through every encounter, she began slowing down and having deeper conversations with patients about their health. It meant spending a few more minutes with her patients, even though she wasn't supposed to. But it also helped her reconnect with why she became a doctor in the first place. And she later reflected she hadn't become a doctor simply to prescribe medications. She became a doctor to help heal. And oh, it was time to heal herself. And so that was a piece by Dr. Raquel Harrison. That came from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So one of the reasons I like to read a story like that is because in her case, and also in my case, obviously she's not here for us to ask her, but I had the experience that I thought my symptoms were coming to destroy me. They were coming to harm me. Like I said, the hair loss, I was dealing with insomnia. I experienced very severe vocal cord disorder and voice issues, which I still deal with from time to time here in the present. And for her, it was chest pain and the loud sounds that bothered her in the ER and the exhaustion. So we all have these signs that are coming towards us. And if we start to look at these signs as messengers of wisdom, not trying to harm us, but maybe they're coming to save us. Maybe they have some valuable messages to support us. And that's a little seed that I want to plant for anybody listening, whether you're on the live call or in the recording. If any of this is resonating with you, if you're dealing with some of these physiological symptoms, they might be symptoms coming to tell you something important, coming to save you. So, on an average day, how do you feel when you get to your clinical environment, when you're sitting at your desk? How do you feel? And then please feel free to engage with me on the chat if you want to. You can unmute and you can talk to me at any point. Please feel free. We're a friendly group here. I know for me, back in those days when I was an executive, I felt like I had like the weight of the world on me, like pressure, pressure, pressure constantly. It was a mix of like a pressure, a downward pressure with like overwhelm spinning me upright. It was very scary, very disorienting. And I'll keep looking at the chat. And Patrick, you can help me with the chat too if people start populating anything in there. Let's see, what do we got in here? Yeah, Patrick, anxiety, palpitation, lots of F-bombs. Yeah, Ada coffee. Yeah, exactly.
Not a fun space to be in at all.
Mm-mm, not at all. It's a scary place to be in there, quite honestly. Okay, so this is going to be our first poll. So I really invite you all to participate. I'm going to too. So you just take out your cell phone. You're going to take a picture of that little QR code. If you're driving, you get a pass to not participate. And then you just answer. Yeah. So we've got, I'm managing, but it's taking effort. Wait to see if anyone else puts anything in there. Okay, good. Feeling energized. Great. That's great. Wonderful. So not everyone's going to connect with some of the things that we're talking about here today, but for those of you that are experienced, that you feel energized, you can take some of these nuggets and maybe give it to some of the people in your community. Okay, so getting into some of the meat here. So one of the things I like to talk about with burnout is an unfortunate hard truth, and that is that many of us, we are hardwired for burnout, and that is because of our ambition. Many of us are very, very high achievers. Probably people on this call right now, you were at the top of your class. You're extremely driven. You got great grades. If you didn't get great grades, you were like, you put the own fire under yourself to keep pushing and propelling. You keep going long after other people stop. So we are a population at risk. We are a population at risk. And this can be clinical or in the corporate setting, anywhere, really, even in the nonprofit, any space, any space. So one of the things I like to share with people is that it's not that you're weak if you're experiencing any of what we're talking about today. It's that you've been strong for too long. There's a scene in The Unbroken. I don't know if you guys have ever read the book or seen the movie. There's an American prisoner of war, and he's having to hold this, like, I think it's a wooden beam over his head. And there's a Japanese soldier standing in front of him. And he says, if you drop it, I'll shoot. And he literally has to stand there for a very, very long time. He's holding this huge, heavy thing. And he's a prisoner of war that's been there for a long time. And so sometimes that's what burnout feels like. It's like we're holding this thing over our head and we've had to be strong for too long and we just can't carry it anymore. And what exacerbates this is that we are often in systems and environments that reward us for over functioning, that will pay us a lot of money. And a lot of times we'll see that people have resiliency in these environments. And then when you add in perfectionism and ambition, we get to this breaking point where the body just says, this isn't enough. I can't do this anymore. I just simply cannot do this any longer. So here is our self-assessment quiz. And again, you will take your phone out. I just think it's fun to do things digitally. I'm going to join you guys. So you're going to take a picture and it's going to bring you to a screen. And you're going to click the little pink button that says click here. And if you don't want to do it digitally, no problem. I'm going to walk us through it, but you will need to keep tab of your scores. So here we go. First question. And you're going to answer, give yourself a number 1 if this is never you, a number 2 sometimes, and a 3 often. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, the answer keys on the bottom. I feel emotionally drained at the end of most work days. I sometimes dread going to work, even if I still care about my coworkers and work. I often feel like I'm surviving, just getting through the day. I have trouble being fully present with people outside of work. That used to be me, by the way. Number 4, that was really a problem for me. Number 5, I feel like no matter how hard I work, it's never enough. I regularly put my own needs last. That also used to be me. Number 7, I've thought about changing. I'm leaving my job or drastically changing my role. Number 8, I rarely feel truly rested even after a day off or a vacation. And so you're going to go ahead and add all those up if you didn't do the digital one. If you did the digital one, it's just going to send you some information. So you're in the green zone if you're an 8 to 10. That means that you are doing really well. Like whoever answered in the poll that you're really feeling great, you're probably in the green and you're doing really well. So the rest of this call is maybe more just for you to have some information to support other people in your community. If you got a 10 to a 16, this is a little bit of a warning signal that there might be some patterns that you want to pay attention to. And if you got 17 or higher, this is your official red flashing warning sign that you are likely experiencing pain and you may benefit from addressing that. As my husband says, he's also a coach. He says sometimes people just need to experience more pain, and that's okay. So the first thing I like to say after doing that assessment is that no one needs to be fixed and nobody is broken. We're just overwhelmed, like our prisoner of war who's holding up this piece over his head in the Unbroken movie. We are tired. We are overwhelmed. And so part of how to shift out of this, which is why you're sitting here in this webinar, is we want to get awareness. Like, am I in this state? Is this happening to me or is this happening to someone that I love? Awareness is always the first step. And I know we have some other coaches in the room here. You know that. All of us coaches, we've got to bring awareness to the situation first. If we cannot recognize our state, there's 0.0 chance that there's anything going to change. Okay. The second step is, well, maybe I need to learn some new skills. Like if I had some new skills and I had a new approach, maybe I'd have some different outcomes. So we want to be learning those things. And then the last step, and I think this is the most important, is to have some support. We all know that when, like, for example, I work with a personal trainer. On Monday after time change, y'all, how much do you think I wanted to go work out at 7 o'clock? It was a -20. Like we were all like warming up and I was just like a starfish on the gym floor. Like, I can't. And thankfully he went easy on me. But the fact that Colin was there waiting for me, I showed up. So even when it feels difficult, when you have support, you're going to show up. Now, you don't necessarily need to have a call-in to do that, but you may have a mentor. You may have your husband or wife. You may have a best friend, a mentor, somebody that you can talk to and say, hey, I'm dealing with this. I'm trying to learn some new skills. Can you hold me accountable here? Can you show up for me? And we know that it takes 21 days to start a new habit. Any of you guys that have read Atomic Habits, which is a great, great book, if anyone hasn't read it, it's all about the identity and the anatomy of habits. We need support. We need support. So just a couple things about burnout, and I know I'm talking to a bunch of clinicians and people that have a lot of deep knowledge on this topic. It's just to make sure we're all on the same page. Burnout doesn't just mean that you're tired. Okay, sometimes people think it's exhaustion. It is not just exhaustion. The key aspects of burnout is that the person has been experiencing a prolonged season, and this it could be 12 months, 18 months, years of prolonged exhaustion and stress. I mean, to be an EM physician, urgent care physician, I guess that probably comes with the title, huh? I mean, that's what you guys are steeped in. But it's a prolonged period of this, and it's causing not only physical depletion, but it is mental depletion and emotional depletion. I was sitting with a man just the other day, and he's a strong, strong man, and he just could not stop crying. And I could tell it was like mortifying him that he was crying so much. But he had got to the point where he's been holding that thing up for so long, he just can't do it anymore. He just literally can't do it anymore. So burnout is also detachment, going into work and just feeling like removed emotionally, like almost apathetic to what you're doing, who you're working with. And then last is just feeling unproductive. I liken this to like a tire stuck in the mud where you're trying to spin it and get out of the stuck place, but you just see the tire spinning, 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 spinning. That's what that feels like. Like we're not able to move forward, even though I've got the gas throttled. Nothing's moving. Okay. Excuse me. How does it begin? Well, it begins by having really high demands put on you. which is perfect in clinical settings, right? Like that's what is required of you guys almost always. And then overworking becomes normal. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go to work and just get beat up for the next 12 hours. Like this is just normal. It's like I'm going to carry this mountain with me. And then at some point that and this is where burnout feels like quicksand, there is a loss of control. There's no more agency. I don't know how to get out of this. Like I'm just in this. And then for those of you that have like perfectionism or you're a type A person, that can make that quicksand feel even faster. This is how it all begins. And for some of us, this begins right out of college or maybe in college. It all started in college. So impacts of burnout, and there's actually a clinical test that people can do. It's like $50 or $60. If anyone's interested in it, I'm happy to share. Just email me. I'll share my information with you all at the end. To really understand these impacts, like from a clinical standpoint, that quiz will give you all that information. So it's cognitive, meaning like brain fog, having difficulty making decisions, maybe difficulty functioning without coffee or stimulants. Your productivity is decreased, as we already talked about. And then the interpersonal part I find very interesting. It's kind of just like it's not even a work thing. It's like the guy I was sitting with last week, he was like, I don't even care about being in community with people. I don't care about the men that I'm friends with. I don't care. Like he didn't care. It's like that deep, deep. So apathy is almost scarier than anger. It's like that's where you really get into some dangerous territory. Okay, that's the impact of burnout over a sustained period. Okay, so we're going to do our next poll. Take out your cell phones, those of you that can. And you're going to answer the question, when you feel depleted, what do you usually do first? Do you push harder and power through? Do you numb out and scroll? Do you drop non-essential tasks? Or do you step back and intentionally recover? So we're seeing right now that what most of you do is push harder. And that's certainly what I did back in the day.
And I think in medicine, that's just what is expected of you. If you don't, then you're weak. You're not going to do well on your rotations. You're not going to get that residency spot. So it's just, I think it's ingrained in healthcare folks from a very early stage.
Yeah. We do have someone that says step back and intentionally recover, which is great. That's wonderful.
Good for you.
That's very healthy.
Yeah.
And also dropping non-essential tasks, that would be maybe the precursor before you might be willing to step back and intentionally recover. So all of that is good. Okay, so going to the next slide. So burnout is more than external factors, and I really like to drive this point home before we get into the solutioning part. You could put 5 people in the same exact situation. It could be the same home dynamics and the same work dynamics, and guess what? All 5 of them are not going to be burned out. And that is because burnout is an internal reality. It is very much connected to your thoughts and feelings about the situation that you're in. So this is good news, because if this is true, it means that your internal reality is something that you can control. And that is the piece that coaching can help you intercept with. And let's get into that. So for those of you who are willing to really start to like, this is interesting, Elsa, I'm motivated. I may be in the red, I might be in the yellow. There has to be a willingness to disrupt your patterns. And for any of us, if you want to disrupt patterns, it's going to get uncomfortable, folks. Like if you go to the gym tonight and you're curling 50 pounds on your biceps, it's going to hurt. Well, at least for me, it will. Maybe for some of you, it wouldn't. That's a heavy weight load. But sometimes that pressure, that external pressure, is what helps us grow. So in this moment, you might know, you know what, Elsa? I'm not ready. Like, yeah, I might be apathetic. I'm dealing with all this stuff. I feel like I'm in the crapper, but I'm not willing. Just be with that. Like, just know it. Like, I feel this and I'm not willing to do anything yet. Okay, great. Good. Maybe in 6 months that'll change. Maybe in a year that'll change. For those of you that are like, yes, I'm motivated. I'm ready. Let's start taking some steps. And it will be uncomfortable. That part I cannot take away. So I want you to remember some of these things that I'm about to teach you because they'll be relevant when we come to the end. The first thing I like to look at with people as we're starting to re-architect burnout is, what are your patterns? Because the patterns are exactly like I just said in the last slide. We have to be willing to disrupt them. So here are some of the classics that I see. Skipping breaks. This could also be on the weekend. This doesn't have to be just when you're in a clinical setting. This can be on days off. Like just constantly producing without taking breaks to recharge. Extended hours, just repeatedly working back to back, no adequate recovery time. Like working 5 back-to-back shifts and then like signing up to go to, I don't know, some epic big event on the next night. That's personal. Like that's not a good choice. That's not going to make you feel good. And then overcommitting, taking on responsibility outside of your capacity. I see that one all the time. All the time. So just look for yourself. I'm not going to make you call this out, but if you do want to put it in the chat, like, and Patrick's saying guilty here. I'm not sure which one were you saying guilty for, Patrick?
All the above.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think for me, if I'm not working, then there's some guilt there. It's like I've got so much to do. I need to do it. And I think that's where having a spouse who is in tune with this stuff, having open communications with my wife, and if it weren't for her, I would work 16 hours a day. No problem.
I hear you. I hear you. It's good to have a spouse that gives us guardrails.
Keeps us in check.
Kids do
Absolutely.
that too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you for your honesty on that. Okay, so going to the next slide. These are just boundary patterns. This doesn't have to have anything to do with work. This could just be you as an individual being constantly available. This is for work or personal things. This could be for your husband or wife. Just available for your friend down the road, to your parents. I'm just available. I want to be a good son. I want to do. Being constantly available is a boundary pattern. Difficulty saying no without extensive justification. Just defaulting to yes. Like you might feel it in your body, like, ooh, like I don't want to do it, but then you hear the yes come out of your mouth. Like, what the heck? What is that? Sacrificing recovery time to maintain productivity, not enforcing time boundaries that protect your schedule. Like, for example, this call, we're going to end it on time because your time matters. You've got to reclaim it. Boundaries. A boundary that we build around ourselves keeps me safe and healthy. And oh, by the way, it keeps you healthy and safe. Boom, boom. And I see Rob put something in here. Let's see, what do you got, Rob? Okay, sometimes taking an added responsibility creates space for agency and protected me from burnout. Okay. All right. Do you want to say anything about that, Rob? That's interesting.
One of the things that happened, I was the incident commander for COVID operations for my organization. And just prior to that, I didn't have any premonitions. I was working with the med ed folks to develop a barrier-free mental health service for all trainees and faculty. And that 1 day a week, extra responsibility just gave me so much joy that it neutralized the rest of the crap that I was dealing with.
Okay, so that's an interesting example how we can potentially expand what we're taking on that gives us freedom. So that's great. I love that. I don't usually see that, but I love it. And I can tell you're a very healthy person, Rob. Like you have a lot of boundaries around you. I would think when you made that choice, you knew you were doing it from a full cup. Oh, okay, very good. And then Julie put in here, let's see, Julie, she said, I feel like I'm in a private coaching session and you see me in my burnout. Thank you, Julie. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so next we go to internal patterns. Again, this has nothing to do with work, y'all. This is just life. Deriving self-worth primarily from productivity, measuring your value as a person by how much you accomplish rather than who you are, ignoring your body signals. We're all guilty of this, dismissing important physical cues like hunger, fatigue, illness until it becomes too severe to ignore. Harsh self-criticism, holding yourself to impossibly high standards and being unforgiving of normal human limitations, and adrenaline dependence. This is one of my favorites, and I still battle with this one. Feeling most alive during high intensity situations and crashing emotionally and physically when things slow down. Patrick, I think you might be with me on this one too. We got this one together. needing intensity to feel engaged. That's been part of the work that I've had to master. And I wouldn't say I'm not there yet. I still haven't mastered it, but learning how to balance those energies of adrenaline dependence. Okay, so if anything you're going to take from this conversation, I hope you take this, especially if you're feeling connected to some of these burnout things that we're talking about. You're like, okay, I see myself. I'm willing to disrupt patterns. I want to do something. This tool is a game changer, folks. It is a game changer. If you have read Atomic Habits, you have heard of this. It is called the 1% rule. It is also known as Kaizen. And what this principle teaches us is that small changes over time in a positive direction lead to huge results. And this is one of the backbones of my coaching, how I help people. And is one of the principal reasons why I hate New Year's resolutions. I think they're crap. I think they're total crap for people to be like, yep, thank you, or out for the thumbs up. Like they're just, oh yeah, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to eat salads 5 days a week and I'm going to ultra restrict myself. No more alcohol. It's like, what are we gaining here? What are we gaining here? But the 1% is powerful because it starts to change you slowly and silently. And then all of a sudden you look and you're like, holy crap. How did I do that? It gives me chills. I mean, Rob, you probably experienced this with your clients. We get to have a front seat watching people transform and taking these small steps. And I love to give the example of dental floss. Most people hate to floss their teeth. You go every year, twice a year for your exam, or you should for your cleaning. And the dentist will tell you, have you been flossing? And I resisted the damn floss until 2009. For some reason, in 2009, when Dr. Woodruff said, Elsa, I'm sick of filling your cavities. You're in your 30s. Get your shit together. Like she said it like that. Like just like she bitch slapped me. Like, boom. Sorry for the curse words, Patrick, but like it was, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. She was right. And you know what? I became a flosser. But you know what? I think I would have become a flosser faster if I knew this principle. So, how would we apply the 1%? You take out your dental floss. That might be the 1% the very first day. Like, I got the damn thing and I'm going to unwind it and I'm going to cut it and then I'm just going to leave it somewhere. Don't use it. Just sit it there. Okay. And then maybe 2 days later, as you see it festering on your nightstand, you pick it up and you wrap it around your fingers and you might do one little tooth, and then you hopefully discard it after, because then, yeah, we don't need that floss anymore. But that's how the 1% works. And then maybe the next day you try it again, another one tooth. And then if you keep doing that over time, soon enough, you're going to be doing the whole top row of your teeth. And this is how this principle works. And it makes me so excited when people adopt it because it works. It works. It works, y'all. It really does. So this is my signature roadmap for burnout recovery. I call it the 5 R's of burnout recovery. This is how I coach people. This is how I walk them through things. You guys can take these pieces. You could get a little buddy or you could get a mentor or whatever, and you guys can start working through these things. I encourage you to really pay attention on this part. And I see it's 1:39. I'm going to start going a little bit faster. So number 1 is rest and regulation. Number 2 is reflect. I'm going to go through these deeper in a moment. Number 3 is reframe. Feel free to take a picture if you want to just have this for reference. Like, what did Elsa say? Well, this is what she said. Number 3 is reframe. Number 4 is retool. And number 5 is renew. Number 5 is my favorite. Number 5 is my favorite. Okay, so let's start with number 1, rest and regulation. We need adequate sleep. And I know a lot of you are physicians and sleep is like you have a love-hate relationship with sleep. But sleep is important. Breaks are important, downtime is important, and also managing your nervous system. That's why I use the term regulate. And let me tell you, our society is pretty shitty at regulating the nervous system. Like for some reason, we go for stimulants, and then what many of us do to engage the parasympathetic nervous system is grab for alcohol or grab for a gummy, which isn't necessarily terrible. But what if we learned the skill to do this just like that? Like, what if we really became good at downshifting the nervous system? I'm telling you, I have made it my business to be very good at it, and it is life-changing. It is a game changer. what was this taught in medical training? Sleep is for, yes. And you know what? Rob, my father is a trauma surgeon and he's about to turn 84. And back in the 70s, when I was a little kid, I don't think any of that was regulated. So he would be just performing surgery for like 3, 4 days in a row. And he would come home and say the same thing. He would say, sleep's for weenies. He's like, you know how many cups of coffee I had? Like he wore it like a badge of honor. I don't know.
And
How's it work?
not only was Elsa's dad a trauma surgeon, but he was one of the, I guess, grandfathers of trauma surgery at Maryland's shock trauma.
Center. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah,
That's right.
that was an amazing place, and I can't imagine the hell that he lived through working
He
in that
really did.
environment.
And I
Yeah,
barely saw him.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you can't outperform a dysregulated nervous system, folks. You just can't. I hope that might be a second takeaway that you get from this. That if you're in the, those higher patterns of burnout, we've got to look at the nervous system first. I won't engage with my clients until we get this part, like at least some kind of foundation. It feels like building on a house of cards if we don't have this foundation first. So you guys know this, you're clinicians. Just a little reminder, we have the sympathetic nervous system. That's your autonomic nervous system where your respiratory system functions from, your heartbeat, your brain function. You don't need to think about these things. That is the sympathetic nervous system. It's also where fight, flight, or freeze comes from. It's where cortisol is like pumping through you. That is that level of your nervous system. And a lot of us just kind of get attuned to living in that kind of degree of speed. The parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for our relaxation, for winding us down, for bringing us into this grounded kind of like, I don't know, I'm in Florida, like Rob's about to go to. I'm in Florida relaxing. I just came from a spa. I just did a really nice walk outside. It's that feeling we get when we're engaging the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is a tool that I like to teach people. So I'm going to talk about yoga nidra in a second. That's one of my next slides. Meditation is the gold star for regulation of the nervous system. So many people resist it, resist it, resist it. If you apply the 1% to meditation, you will be a rock star at the end of this year. I will tell you, when I started learning to meditate, I could barely do 30 seconds, barely do it. I would use this timer on here on my iPhone. 30 seconds and my brain would be going, and I started back in 2015. Now today, 2026, I can go a whole hour in a meditative state. And that took repetition and just keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. And you know what? At some point it becomes effortless. It's just, you just go into the state. I think it's for the first, like getting through the first 5 minutes is usually the hardest. For some people, it's the first 10 minutes. So that's the gold standard. We're going to talk about yoga nidra in a second. Using different kinds of regulating techniques like EFT. Some of you guys may be familiar with EFT. That's where you're using different body parts to kind of tap and you regulate by hitting those meridian points. This might be a little woo-woo for my clinical folks. It's very, very effective. Sometimes my clients are like, holy shit, what just happened to me? People that deal with insomnia, people that have trouble using their voice, people that have a lot of anxiety. EFT is so amazing in regulating the nervous system. Obviously, limiting stimulants is helpful, as I have like a huge venti coffee that my husband just gave. So don't follow the venti coffee. But limiting stimulants when you can. Being outside. I tell people that outside is medicine. Outside, the natural world is our medicine. And the more you can engage with it, the better. Doing walks. This helps you regulate your nervous system. Yoga Nidra is probably one of my most favorite tools. This is something you can find on YouTube. It is a free resource. I've listed here below one that I really, really love. Her name's Ali Boothroyd. For my clients that are really in a highly dysregulated state or very anxious or feeling just very, this is something that I really like to encourage them to do. This is a guided practice where you put on your earphones and you just listen to what she's saying, and it gets your brain into a delta and theta state. which is consciously engaging the parasympathetic nervous system. If you spend 5 minutes in yoga nidra, it's worth ×3 in sleep. So I use this as a way to get out of chronic fatigue syndrome when I was dealing with it. So if I spent 30 minutes in a yoga nidra state, it is worth 90 minutes of sleep. 90 minutes of sleep. This is a powerful tool, powerful tool. We all know that sleep is a superpower. We know it's important. What are we doing to prioritize it? When possible. Obviously, when you're doing lots of shifts and you can't be sleeping, that's okay. But what are you doing when you're not working to prioritize your sleep? What patterns need to be disrupted? What boundaries need to be put in place? What do you need to potentially remove from your routine or add in to have better sleep support? This may be where your 1% is. And I tell people the 3 kind of things that I look at when people are burned out is I look at how is your sleep, how is your nutrition, how is your movement, and how can we kind of get those things online as best as possible. How is your sleep? How is your movement? How is your nutrition? How are you nourishing yourself? Okay. So this is all pattern disruption. Sleep is a superpower. So the second R is the ability to reflect and have enough time and space inside of your world to examine the patterns and the triggers that are leading you down this path. And each and every one of us have unique needs, all of us. So the very first thing I tell people, if you are back to back to back to back to back, you are not going to be able to use this tool. If your calendar, if you were to open up your phone right now and see that you're crowded and overscheduling, if on the weekend or when you're off and not in a clinical setting, you're just cramming your time. I'm going to Target, I'm going to Harris Teeter, I'm going here, I'm going there, I'm volunteering, I'm going to church. You don't have space. You do not have space. So having the ability, the willingness to disrupt that pattern would be a first step to create the space. And then I love to ask people to do an energy inventory. What are the things that drain you of your energy? Is it people? Sometimes for many of us, it's like sounds can be really depleting, especially in a clinical setting. I'm sure you guys deal with all kinds of intense sounds and the lights and dealing with people, maybe even some of your colleagues, situations. I know my husband, for example, I've been with him for 20 years. When we go to the mall and we go into those stores that have the loud music and then the bright lights, like those, I guess they're fluorescent lights. I can see him like he gets dysregulated right in front of me. Like he's just losing it. And I see him, I'm like, Tate, we gotta go. You gotta get out of here. Like this is just literally draining. It's like almost like someone like opened a crack under his feet and all of his energy is just draining right out. So we want to get clear on what's draining your energy. And we can only do that once you create some space. You need some space to think about this. And then we want to think about what boosts your energy. Is it a little bit of working out? Is it a meditation? Is it a quiet moment? Is it a phone call with your mother? Is it a phone call with a loved one, a child, eating something really nourishing, taking a fresh breath of air and going outside? So anytime someone's draining, I want them to think of ways that they can fill their energy back up. And I can go deeper on all that, but I'm trying to be thoughtful about our time. So the third R is to reframe. This is where we get to shift our perspective. So I want you guys to imagine like you're all walking around with like lenses. Like imagine these are like red colored glasses and you just see everything as red, 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 red. This is the lens that I see life through. This particular part of the burnout recovery roadmap is going to have you shift the glasses that you're wearing and start to see things potentially through a new perspective on your identity, new perspective how you show up at work, new perspective on where you derive your self-worth, and a new perspective on your patterning, your mental patterning. And so if I had more time, I would go through an exercise with you guys, but I'll just kind of abbreviate this. Each and every one of us, we have, Patrick wrote alarm fatigue. Was that in a clinical setting, Patrick?
Yeah, just the constant noise and
Yeah.
nobody paying attention to it. And it's like I when I was in the ER, I would start hearing the alarms and I could just feel like my neck, my head just turning red. And I'm just like, that's when the F-bomb started going. It's like nobody's going to pay attention to it, or why do we even have these things? And that was a big, big trigger.
Yeah, that's really hard. That's really hard. So that was probably, it was making you upset, but it was probably draining your energy. Like just imagine there was like a hole in the bottom of your feet and it was just getting siphoned to the floor.
Pouring out.
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling. So we all have an identity that fuels us, each and every one of us. And that identity is either helping us or hurting us. Since we brought up my father, I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I'll just bring him up. So he was a trauma surgeon for many, many years. He was a co-founder of a trauma center in Baltimore, Maryland. He literally dedicated his life to saving people. Like people would walk up to me on the street, "Your dad saved me. Your dad was in a motorcycle accident. I would have died if it wasn't." So my father's identity in the community and as a clinician was he called trauma surgeons the gods of surgery. Rob's giving me a thumbs up. So like that was like a big deal for him. And then as my father, he's 84, he's about to turn 84 next week. I could tell that like as he was in his 70s, he started moving more to administrative type work and he wasn't in the doing, practicing surgery anymore. He was doing some intensive care work and then he kind of moved into more administrative. And at this point, he's 100% administrative. He's 84 years old and still working part-time, which kind of blows my mind. But his identity that he formed all those years ago, that you have got to be productive, you've got to be making money, you've got whatever, is still driving him. The man has oodles of money. He could do whatever the heck he wants. He could be doing a give back so supremely right now. And his identity just has him wanting to produce. Like, so there's no other option. There's just no other option. So if your identity is a positive identity, okay, Rob's saying tough to retire when your identity is so much career. I totally get it, Rob. I totally get it. It is hard and it has been very hard for my dad. And I think he finds himself in a fortunate situation that he still goes to the hospital 3 days a week and he's still making a difference in the ways that he can. So I would say that his identity is still positive. It's still helping him. But for those of us, if we have an identity that's fueling us, that's negative, that part of us, the glasses we are putting on every day that is giving us the results that we're getting in our life. And that's where it becomes dangerous. So through the process of coaching, and Rob, this, we can create a new identity born out of who you want to be, not who you've had to be, who you want to be. And Patrick, I feel like I'm watching you do this in front of my eyes. It's actually making me feel emotional connecting to this. Like you're such an inspiration to our community. Sorry. I didn't know I was going to get emotional, but like you're shape shifting in front of our eyes. Like I've known you, gosh, I've known you for 20 years now. And like I got to see your story and how you've made an impact in your communities as a physician and how one day you're like, you know what? And I think Rob Orman, who's part of this community, and and I guess Rob here, McGregor was part of your story. Like these gentlemen, like these are the gentlemen that helped you forge a new identity. Is that true? Would you say that's true?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, 4 years ago, almost to the date, is when I got my first introduction to coaching. And that's when I was rock bottom. Our Elsa, our mutual friend, Jeff Bennett, had just passed away a year prior. And we were in the middle of COVID. My dad had just gone through a really massive health scare and COVID, overweight, drinking too much. I broke down and I just said, I am going to die if I don't do something. And that was when my first interaction with a coach was Charles D'Angelo. And it was an investment, but very quickly learned and saw and experienced how coaching can make a big difference. So then when it was time, and that's when my clinical burnout started. And I started working with Rob Orman, immediate impact. And then it was time to work with Juan Stroschein. And it was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And, all of those things took investments. And one of the big things that I try to share with people who are in ShiftChange is if you want to do something and you're not happy where your current situation is, coaching is a wonderful tool. It is a gift and it really can change your life. And the investment is worth it. And there's in the middle of the word investment, there's 2 letters, me. And when we start investing in ourselves, things change. Just like Your 401k is not going to grow if you don't put money into it. Same thing. That's why I am such a huge fan. And that's why I wanted to have you talk and have coaches inside of ShiftChange to help people navigate this. And if people will start investing in themselves with coaching, it's such a game changer.
Yes. And look at what you've created based on your willingness to receive coaching, challenge the identity that you had been walking around with.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
It's such a give that you share to all of us, bringing us together in these communities, supporting us. Like I've seen Rob on 2 webinars and I feel like he's my buddy. Like I want to hang out with Rob. And Ada and I, we got to hang out a couple of weeks ago, and she's in Charlotte and we're going to get together for coffee. Like it's just like you've just created such a richness for us, because at the end of the day, it's people. It's
It
people.
is, and it's connection, and it's collaborating in that sense of community. That's why I have that as the tagline for ShiftChange. But this is what we're trying to create. And so all of you, I believe, on this call are inside of ShiftChange, almost everybody. Once a month, we're going to have a coach's corner, and that is going to be a closed, non-recorded opportunity for people to get together with a coach, a certified coach, to lead a discussion. Elsa is going to be doing the first one next week. Rob has volunteered, or is being told that he's going to do the next one in April.
I want to come to Rob's.
Yeah, so that's what this is for. But we got to get people to come in and show up. But it's a wonderful resource, Elsa. Thank you so much for today's discussion and for your contributions and everything that you do to help us. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. I see Julie wrote down here, my dad was one of the original designers of the New York City EMS system and built a company, spent his life teaching and helping others, still working today at 80. We should get our dads together. Yes, we should, Julie. But what you has just said so speaks to me. The identity works for them, but that doesn't mean we have to have the same identity or needs. 100%. I love that. So we only have 2 minutes, and there's more to go here, but I want to just bring you all to the very, I could just keep going, all, but if you found something of value here today, I would love for you to choose one pattern that you want to disrupt, apply the 1% rule, and find some accountability. Tell your partner tonight. Tell your partner, I want to floss 1 tooth. Can you hold me accountable? Or whoever. Just don't tell your dog or your cat. They can't hold you accountable. Tell Patrick. Tell me.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, like just find us in ShiftChange. Like we have just such an awesome community. We're going to be there for you. You can even put it in ShiftChange. Hey, I want a buddy, or I want an accountability person. Like we're there. We're all going to be there for each other. We're going to show up for each other. And so for those of you that found this conversation interesting and you'd like to take it a little deeper, especially if you were in the red or the yellow, I'm inviting every single one of you, doesn't matter who you are, to a clarity call, even like the administrators on the call, anybody. I'm inviting you to a clarity call. If you want to take me up on it, you just take a picture of this QR code. It'll give you my calendar for the next 30 days. And so what's going to happen on this call is you're going to bring any of the insights that you saw today on this call, any of the pain that maybe come up, the patterns, any resistance, you bring it to the call. And we are going to work through it. And the reason I call it a clarity call is through the coaching process, you're going to see something that you haven't seen. And in seeing that, it's going to have you taking different action to get a different result. And it's such a cool process. And this is my information. If you want to reach out to me via email, there's my email. There's my website, elsaarend.com. And it's 1:59, and I want to be true to our time. Thank you so much, Patrick and ShiftChange, for having me today.
Absolutely. And Elsa, thank you for being here, for showing up, sharing your expertise, and really looking forward to what we have in store for the future. Just encourage everybody to connect with Elsa. We'll send the replay out. It'll probably take a couple days just to get it edited down, and we'll send this out to everybody. It'll also be on the ShiftChange YouTube channel and inside the ShiftChange community. If any of you who are here are not inside of ShiftChange, we'd love to have you in there. Feel free to shoot me an email, which is patrick@myshiftchange.com. And thanks everybody for being here. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Bye-bye.